there will always be an asterisk after your name. Appointed by a president, named as an unindicted co-conspirator, after the vast majority of documents relating to the most instructive period of his life were concealed.
And so, a Supreme Court confirmation hearing unlike any other began today in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Federal Appeals Court Judge Brett Kavanaugh is the first person to be nominated for the United States Supreme Court by an unindicted co-conspirator in a current federal criminal case. If you've been following the Kavanaugh confirmation process closely, you probably learned nothing that you didn't already know about Brett Kavanaugh in today's hearing, except this. The two men facing each other there are both proud and loving fathers. One of them has 2 children. The other used to have 2 children. Now he has 1. His 14-year-old daughter, Jamie, was one of the 17 people killed in the mass murder at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. Fred Guttenberg explained what you're seeing in that photograph this way. Just walked up to Judge Kavanaugh as morning session ended, put out my hand to introduce myself as Jamie Guttenberg's dad. He pulled his hand back, turned his back to me, and walked away. I guess he did not want to deal with the reality of gun violence. Here is the video of that moment, and you will see Fred Guttenberg is the first person to speak to Brett Kavanaugh when he gets out of the witness chair.
Four seconds, please.
The photograph of Brett Kavanaugh turning his back on Fred Guttenberg went viral almost immediately, and by the time Brett Kavanaugh made his opening remarks, the White House was already issuing statements defending Brett Kavanaugh, turning his back on Fred Guttenberg. And so, I had high hopes for Brett Kavanaugh, high hopes that he would find Fred Guttenberg in the audience and just shake hands with him, say something sympathetic to a grieving father in his opening remarks, perhaps. But he didn't. He could easily have just added a sentence or 2. That's the most it would take to his opening remarks. He didn't say a word about Fred Guttenberg or Fred's daughter, Jamie. But he did talk about some other girls. Girls with very bright futures.
For the past 7 years, I've coached my daughter's basketball teams. I love coaching. All the girls I've coached are awesome. And special congratulations to the girls on this year's 6th grade CYO championship team. Anna, Quinn, Kelsey, Shawnee, Chloe, Alex, Ava, Sophia, and Margaret. I love helping the girls grow into confident players. I know that confidence on the basketball court translates into confidence in other aspects of life.
I love everything about that. I love that he loves coaching his daughter's team, and I love that he gave a shout out to them and the other 6th graders on the team. I love everything he said there, and I believe he means every single word of that. I know that confidence on the basketball court translates into confidence in other aspects of life. Not if you don't get to have a life. Not if a mass murderer walks into your school when you're 14 years old and takes your life away. And that's what happened to Jamie Guttenberg. And now her dad goes everywhere he can and reaches his hand out to everyone he can to try to bring sanity to America's gun laws. He did it to me. At a big crowded event in Washington, Fred Guttenberg approached me the same way he approached Brett Kavanaugh today, with that outstretched hand, and he said, "I am Fred Guttenberg. I am the father of Jamie Guttenberg, who was murdered at Parkland." And those words froze me in place, listening to every word that he had to say, marveling that he could compose himself and smile through that unimaginable burden of grief. And today, Fred Guttenberg tried that same approach with the nominee for the Supreme Court of the United States, and the nominee turned his back on him. And then when given a chance to apologize, to clarify It didn't seem to even cross his mind. And so even though Brett Kavanaugh took no questions today from the senators, we learned more about him in his response to Fred Guttenberg than we will probably learn about Brett Kavanaugh in the rest of the hearings. And joining us now, Fred Guttenberg.
Laurence, you just gave me my first legitimate laugh of the day. I remember exactly what you're talking about at the March for Our Lives on March 24th. I remember walking up to you, and those exact words that you described are exactly what I said today to Judge Kavanaugh. And when I got to the part about my daughter Jamie was one of the kids murdered in Parkland, was when you see him turn around and move the other way.